Buddy, this is Vatya Blumenthal, branch supervisor of the Putterham Library. Happy to introduce Keith Beasley again. Once again, this is our another session of gentle yoga. As always, I wanted to thank our friends of the Brookline Public Library for sponsoring this program and programs like it. I also wanted to recognize our community partners, Brookline Interactive Group, where you can watch this video stream on their YouTube page, their Facebook page, and local channels 3 for Xfinity and RCN. As always, participation in this online yoga program could result in injury. Not all exercises presented here are suitable for everyone. These exercises are not intended to substitute for proper medical care or advice. Always consult your physician before beginning any exercise program. The creators, teachers, and producers assume no responsibility for injuries from participation in this program. And with that, I give you Keith.
Hi, good morning. Let's begin with a sound, just a little listening. Feel free to close the eyes if you want. So when we hear this sound, we begin to center ourselves and we bring our attention to what it feels like to sit in the chair. So feeling the bottoms of the feet, feeling the buttocks, feeling the spine extending. Feeling the face soften. Feeling the eyes relax. And feeling the belly going in and out with the breath. We call this abdominal breathing. So really relying on the diaphragm, the big muscle below the lungs. And as the diaphragm expands the lungs, the belly begins to move out. And then as we exhale, the lungs get smaller and the belly goes back in. Feel free to rest the hand, one or even both hands on the belly. And you might notice as our attention settles into the breath and as our spine extends up, that some of that movement in the abdomen comes up into the lower ribs. They call them the floating ribs. And then as we exhale, the floating ribs soften and release, and then the belly softens and releases. So we're going to go back and forth like that a few times. And it's nice in yoga to be in a space where we feel comfortable enough where we can close our eyes. We need that comfort level in order to release our need to see what's going on around us. And that allows us to bring our attention inwards. Feel free to use a prop or support behind you in the chair so that you, if you want, you're able to use the back of the chair and sit up nice and tall. And then notice the shape of the body as we sit. The shape of the body. And this would be the same shape for the, probably the most ideal shape to sit in is where the thighs are parallel to the floor. So if I put my hands on the tops of my thighs and I glide them back and forth, I feel an evenness or nearly even between where the hands are near the hip and when the hands are near the knees. So if I'm a particularly tall person and my lower legs are longer, I'm trying to simulate that by coming up on my toes. You notice my knees go up, and so the hips are a little lower. So if you're a tall person, you might want to put a little cushion or a firm blanket on the chair so that your thighs are parallel. And if you're a shorter person, you might consider putting something under the feet. Blanket works really well. So anything firm, you don't want something that's too spongy. And you might even need more than one blanket. Something firm so that the knees and the hips are approximately even. And you'll find that that usually makes it easier to sit up too. To sit up and also to feel like you're not sliding off the front of the chair. So we want to be comfortable here. If you want more of a challenge here, you can slide towards the front of the chair so that your sitting bones are near the edge and the bottoms of the thighs are over the floor, not in the chair, so that you're not using the back of the chair. And then we're going to add a little bit of movement to it. So we're going to use this movement to help extend the spine. We're going to bring the hands together right in front of the heart, and then we're going to inhale. And as we inhale, the hands slide up together. And then as we begin to exhale, we let the hands come apart and the hands float slowly down. And then they come back together in front of the navel. So we'll do that a few times. And we've been working on the idea of proprioception. So this is an opportunity to keep the eyes closed and see what it's like. How does it feel to not see my body in space, but to have to feel it moving in space? And also when the hands come together, we want to be able to feel them coming together so they're fairly even. And with practice, it gets easier so that without looking, you can bring them together. So if you ever lose power in the dark, you'll be able to bring your hands together, no problem. Hopefully that doesn't happen too often. Usually, maybe hurricane season or a big winter storm. And our yoga practice can help us whenever there is a storm. Doesn't matter what kind of storm it is, internal, external, and bring the hands together. Let's go back the other way. Drop the hands and then turn the palms up, and the hands lift up and they come together somewhere above, somewhere. Whether or not it's high up or just right in front of the face, it doesn't really matter. We want a nice circular movement here. The size and the shape doesn't matter so much. It's the ease of the movement, following the breath, inhaling up. So being able to sit calmly in a storm reminds me of I think it was a couple years ago, there was some children and a teacher trapped in a cave, and they had to wait there for many days to be rescued. And they didn't have any light. And the teacher had actually taught them meditation. And they say that it was a big factor in keeping the kids calm during a time that was very difficult. So really this what we're doing right now is a movement or meditation in motion, maybe. Call it that, meditation in motion. So that we begin to focus in on the feeling. The feeling becomes almost like the mantra that we repeat. We're feeling the hands moving around, and then let's bring them back in the center. And we'll do some cactus breaths, some inhaling and exhaling. So we'll go back and forth like this, inhaling and exhaling. And notice too the knees. So sometimes the knees sort of fall off to the side. My inner thighs get kind of lazy. So feel free to take anything. You can take a block, you can take a rolled up towel, really anything, a pillow, a cushion even. You could squeeze a cushion, but I'm not squeezing so much as just holding it. And that's going to activate my inner thighs. And so I'm sitting up nice and tall. I'm opening the heart as I breathe in, and I'm giving a gentle squeeze with the inner thighs. That's going to help stabilize the knees and the hips and the pelvis and also the core of the body. So we like to recruit all these different muscles that help stabilize us when we need stability. So yoga is often thought about as flexibility, but stability is as important as flexibility. If you're flexible and unstable, your muscles are weak, or they're uncontrolled, or you have your joints don't work well, or I should say they don't keep the bones together the way that they should. That's not good either. And then we'll bring the hands back together and rest the hands back down. And let's warm up a little more. So if you did have a block, or if you were holding something between the thighs, you can move that. And also if you had something under your feet, you may want to take that away. We're going to go back and forth. And starting out at a nice, comfortable pace, whatever feels good for you. Whatever feels good for you. And then think about the breath. Feel the breath moving into the belly. And then begin to slow down the rocking a little bit. So begin to slow it down. And it'll be up to you to decide how much you slow it down. So this ends up being something we're all different with. And we still sitting up tall. It can be a little harder to use the back of the chair here. It really depends on the type of chair. So you could experiment next time. If the chair that you're in isn't working for you right now, try a different one. It actually changes it up a little bit. The buttocks feels a little different. Usually the slant in the chair is a little bit different. This chair is relatively flat. It has a very tiny slant backwards. Ideally, the chair is really flat that you're sitting on. I find that to be most comfortable anyway. And then begin to slow down that movement and just think about lifting up the knees. And we'll start with that, with just lifting the heel up. So lifting up one knee by lifting the heel up. And feel the hip flexors right here. So feel the connection between the quadricep and right into the front of the hip. So this isn't really the hip joint, it's the front of the pelvis. And then if that feels okay, begin to lift the foot slightly off the floor. So come up on the heel first, lift the heel, and then lift the knee up. So it's like a continuation of the movement. I lift up the heel, and then the knee moves up. And then when I come down, the knee moves down, my ball of the foot touches, and then the heel comes down. So it's this movement where we are starting in one spot, and it's working its way up the rest of the body. And then try adding an arm to it if you want more of a challenge. So now my extension starts at the ball of the foot, up through the heel, up through the knee, and then up through the arm, the shoulder, the elbow, and the hand. Starts to come down the hand, the elbow, the shoulder, the knee, and the heel. And if you're doing it a little bit faster, you might not notice each one of those steps, but think about the movement traveling from the ball of the foot up to the hand, like a flowing movement, so that things are flowing up and flowing down. And also think about the stability in the chair, stability in the chair. So that means that stability comes from the core muscles here, a firmness here, and also a firmness down here in the sides. Think about firming the hips up together as you do this. And you could even, if you wanted to, you could even do this on the same side, arm and leg on the same side. And then come back down. So we're going to do upward facing salute. So oftentimes we do this seated on the floor, cross-legged. So let's inhale and lift the arms up like this. And for these first few, notice my elbows are a little bit bent. I'm not extending my shoulders all the way. So depending on your shoulders and your elbows, this may be far enough for you, but you could, or you might, extend the arms a little bit more so the elbows begin to come in towards each other and the arms straighten more. If you find that that causes problems for your shoulders, so if you have shoulder issues, try just doing it with one arm. So starting out with one arm and thinking about straightening, and see if that helps. See if that helps. The other choice is lifting up the arm like this and keeping the elbow bent a lot, so that more of the movement is coming from the shoulder up to the elbow, and we have a nice bend in the arm. So we're just finding a way really to open up this whole side of the body. So as we extend the arms up, there's a movement from the hip up the ribs, up the armpit, up the arm, all the way to the fingertips. But the most important part is here, is the part between the hip and the armpit, is this opening of the ribs and extension of the spine. So this is what helps us extend the spine, even though you might not be able to see it, because there's a small extension that comes from this. It's almost like the arm is an auxiliary device and it's helping to extend. And then see if you can feel the feet pressing in, the buttocks pressing in as you extend up. So remember before we were, I'll turn sideways so you can see, we were pressing the ball of the foot, feeling the heel lift up, feeling the knee lift up like this. Think about it now, we're pressing down and then feel that movement coming up without the leg lifting. So the movement's coming up from the ball of the foot, up the leg, up the ribs. We're opening, we feel the ribs opening, and then we're feeling the armpit opening. And then back down is the same. It's moving down like this, down to the floor. So at the end, feel the foot pressing into the floor. So it's a little bit extra weight on the foot. So there's this movement up and down and up, pressing the foot, getting that lift and down. We'll do that a few more times. And remember, you can do both arms too. So the one thing, remember, when we add things, but it's just sort of we build on what we've learned before. So if you can do both arms, great. If you can only do one, that's good too. If you can only lift up like this, that's great too. Doesn't matter which one. So we'll do it 3 more times, 3 more breaths worth. So we'll inhale, press the feet, and feel that lengthening up. Spine is lengthening. Feel the sitting bones pressing down too, and then exhaling, coming down, and feeling grounded as we come down. And inhale. And you can even give a sigh as you come down. Feel the feet pressing when you get to the bottom. And again, one more time. And down. Now we're going to bend the spine in 6 ways. So we've done this before. We'll rest the hands here on the knees, and we'll inhale. Think about lifting the heart and letting the hips rock forward. So I'll turn sideways so you can see. So we're inhaling, and notice I get a little curve in the back here. And then we're exhaling and bringing the heart back in. almost like there's a little scooping action right here in the front and a movement of the shoulders. Actually, let's try this first as a preparation. Try this. Bring the hands like this and move the elbows back and then forward and cross the arms. So back. So when we move them back, open, feeling an opening here. When they come back, there's an opening behind. So the shoulder blades are opening when I'm like this. So keep trying that. So inhaling and exhaling. Inhale and exhale. And you might notice as you do this that we get a little bit of movement down in the belly and the hips are rocking back and forth. And also the chin might even lift up slightly. I'm not trying to move them though. Just think about moving the heart forward and back and the elbows forward and back. And now let's go back to the before the bending the spine in 6 ways. I'm going to do it like this, but I'm not going to use my elbows like this. I'm going to have my arms straight. So I'm going to inhale and then exhale. Inhale and exhale. So do that a few times and see if you can find some ease here. So so it feels nice. We're working to get some movement in the thoracic spine here with ease, without pain, without stiffness or pain. We want it to feel more, so it's moving more easily back and forth. So this is a good exercise to do. I mean, if you do it in a gentle way, you do it every day for just a minute or so, and it helps to get everything moving up here so that our shoulders, you know, 2 of the biggest places where we have stiffness is the neck and the shoulders and down in the hips and the buttocks. So this is a great way to get the neck and the shoulders moving. And then we'll sit up nice and tall, and then we're going to do a lateral extension. So we'll start like this, and we'll reach up first. So we did this a little bit before, but imagine you're climbing a ladder here, and keep the feet stable. Keep the feet stable and keep the buttocks stable in the chair. So one's going to want to lift up a little, so make sure it stays in the chair. And then as you're comfortable, you can go a little bit to the side. You could also work with the hand coming down to the seat like this for support. So it's really your choice here. And you have a choice as to how far you go over. Think about going up first and then over. So get length first and then go over. Length first and then go over. Length first and then go over. And one more on each side. We also want to, whenever we work with the spine like this, we always want to make sure that we're as even in the same plane if we can. That is, that if we were against the wall and we were reaching like this, our back would be sliding evenly along the wall behind us, so that I'm not turned. I don't want to turn the shoulders. I don't want to turn the belly. We'll do that in a minute. So we're sitting up nice and tall. And now we're going to do a turning. So bringing the hands to the shoulders like this. Start out with moving the elbows back. Moving the elbows back. And letting the shoulders turn. And then as the shoulders turn, start to feel the movement that happens diagonally from the hip up to the shoulder. So we're moving the shoulder back, but we feel a stretching from the opposite hip up the belly, through the solar plexus, up through the up to the shoulder and elbow, and then go to the other side. And let's try this. We're using the idea of feeling movement from the floor traveling up the arm. We did it like this. Think about feeling movement coming from the hip joint. And then as you begin to move the opposite elbow back, feel that movement coming up diagonally until it gets to the elbow behind you. And then the opposite starts from the elbow and travels down to the front hip joint, and then to the other side. So you might have to go slower for this, especially in the beginning. So remember, we're feeling. So we're feeling, starting at the hip joint, feeling the movement going up the belly, up past the heart, up into the elbow behind us. And you might facilitate that with, let's do it, we would normally exhale when we turn like this. We're going to do the opposite. We're going to inhale, and as we inhale, we're going to feel that movement from the hip joint up the belly to the opposite elbow. So start in the beginning, right here, and then inhale and feel the movement traveling diagonally towards the elbow. And then as we exhale, we come back. And you don't have to have the elbows high here. You could have the elbows lower too, if your shoulders are bothering you. So the important part really is that the diagonal movement from the hip to the shoulder. The elbow is really just sort of leading, facilitating, kind of like when we did the arm. When we use the arm to extend the spine and extend the side. The elbow is really just like the arm. And then we'll come back. And now let's try that turning. We'll rest the hands here, and we'll inhale. And as we exhale, we'll move the elbow back like this. And then we'll inhale forward. When you inhale, come forward, sit up nice and tall. And exhale the other side. A little sigh might be nice, especially helps because we're wringing ourselves out down here. So sighing is a really way that, it's a way that we relax. And we'll sit up nice and tall. And so that was bending the spine in 6 ways. That was flexion and extension. It was lateral flexion. And it was turning like this. And let's do some work with the neck and the shoulders. I think we're warmed up enough. So sitting up nice and tall, we'll do our normal neck exercises to start. Lifting the chin up and then releasing the chin down. Remember, we just release. There's no forcing here. It's a releasing. Think release. I release my neck. So when I bow my head, there's a softening in the back of the neck and a softening in the throat. So if you find that your throat gets uncomfortable from this, try lifting the chin ever so slightly. And then keep the throat soft as you allow the chin to come down. You could also place your hand here like this. And then let the chin rest on the hand. But it's not really, my hand is very soft here, just to keep the front of the throat open. So we want to train the front of the throat to stay long as we release the chin down, or to stay longer. In other words, not to collapse. We don't want the front of the throat to do this. We want it to bend, but not collapse. And then let's go sideways. Going one way and then the other. And if you want, you can add your pillow to it. Exhaling as we lean and release and relax. And I find this to be quite comfortable, closing the eyes here and just releasing the side of the neck. So there's no effort on my part here. It's just releasing the neck bends and is resting on my hands, and my hands are resting on my shoulder. You might even feel a little bit of stretching on the, not just in the neck here, but it may go back around where the shoulder blades are behind you. And then we'll turn side to side. Always remembering this side to side turning. We want to be feeling this freedom of movement. You feel free to use your hand here, and let your hand be feeling graceful today. Hand feeling graceful, moving it back and forth with grace and ease. So notice it's not a big movement. It's almost like I'm conducting myself, my orchestra, my internal orchestra. And I'm following with my head. So my head is feeling that gracefulness and that ease. And you can switch your hands whenever you want. If one arm gets a little tired, sometimes the shoulders, they get a little, we don't want them to get fatigued. It's okay to have a little bit of effort going on, but once it starts to feel fatigued, switch. And then we're going to circle, starting by looking straight ahead and then circling the head around. Careful not to drop the head back. Tiny bit's okay. And then please go the other way. And we'll sit up nice and tall. And please slide to the front of your chair. So we're going to make some circles here with the belly. So circling around. Make sure we're nice and warmed up. So this is a very good way to warm up the core of the body. We warm up the core of the body, it warms the whole body up. The way to keep your body warmer, or the way to warm up your body, is to begin with the larger muscle groups in the body. And as they begin to warm up, some of the warmth spreads around, let's go the other way, to the smaller muscle groups. Like the smaller muscle groups would be like the fingers and the toes, even the calves, a little smaller. And a few more times circling around. And if you want more of a challenge, get rid of the hands. You don't have to use the hands. You could hold them in like this. You could even go circle around like this if you wanted. Just making sure there's no pain or discomfort. So whenever I do these exercises, I'm always watching. And if it feels uncomfortable to me, I need to change the exercise or stop it altogether. So changing would be think about making it smaller, less movement, more compact. If that doesn't work, just wait for the next exercise. So we always have a choice. Sometimes we don't always do what's in our best interest, even though we know it's what we should do. We all do that. We all do that. And then sometimes we regret it later. So don't have regrets. Listen to what's happening and, think about it and then make a good decision. Make a decision that you feel good about. And sit up nice and tall. So we're going to do the shoulders again. So we're going to hold the arm out like this. So we've been working on eagle arms. And then I'm going to bring, so we can hold the left arm out. And then we're going to bring the other arm under like this to support it. So let's try that again. Lower the arms down and hold almost like you're shaking hands with somebody. So hold one arm out to shake hands and bring the other one under. And ideally, the elbow is under the elbow, but for some of us, it may not reach all the way. It's a little harder to reach it. So if the elbow is on the forearm, that's okay. Even if it's on the wrist, it's okay. If this is too difficult, if your shoulder bothers you or this shoulder bothers you from supporting the arm, try it like this, with the elbow in by the ribs. So you can support the arm like a little kind of a wedge like this. And just pause here for a moment. Sitting up tall. So whenever we stop for a moment, it's the signal, and bring both arms down. It's a signal to sit up tall. So oftentimes, let's hold the other arm out. We go to do something, and we start to slump down because gravity's pulling us down. So if you can, try to sit up taller when you do this. And at the same time, relaxing the shoulders. So the spine is extending. The face and eyes are relaxed. The shoulders are relaxed. And then go ahead and come back down. Let's do the other side again. And this time we're going to extend the arm out. And we're going to swing the arm under like this and begin to bring it up underneath. So the hand is a little above the elbow. And you might find that each time you do this, each time we repeat it, it's easier to bring the elbow closer to the other elbow. You know, as we start to loosen up. Shoulders, we want the shoulders to be relaxed though. And take a couple of breaths here. And notice how in this position, the chest is closed, but the shoulder blades are open behind us. And then go ahead and lower down. So we're going to use that to our advantage. Please hold your other arm out. And we're going to use that as a chance to bring the breath into the back of the body, into the back, into the shoulder blades and the back ribs. So now we do the other side, and you may notice that they don't feel exactly the same. One's easier, one's we're able to bring the elbows closer together, or maybe not. Maybe they're further apart. And take a couple of breaths here. And notice again the breath. Feel the breath coming into the back of the body. And sitting up nice and tall, even as you breathe in. So that please don't collapse. And then go ahead and release down. We'll do it one last time, and we'll complete. So the way we do it is we start out, and we could stop it. We could continue to work in any of these positions. So you could continue to work in this position, you can continue to work in this position, or the complete eagle arms is bringing the elbows in like this and holding on. And remember, you could use anything really, a scarf. I happen to have a little kind of a rubbery band thing here. But you could use something like this to hold on to. Scarf works great too, or a belt, really anything. And notice again in this position how we've changed the way the breath works. So we're feeling the breath more in the back of the body. And sitting up nice and tall. Don't forget to sit up. It's a very important part. Feel the feet supporting you. Feel the buttocks supporting you and extending the spine up. And then take one more breath in. And then as you exhale, go ahead and release everything. And come back down. And take a breath. We'll do the other side. So we'll start with, we hold one arm out, and we bring the other arm up and under, and then intertwine. And for me on this side, I don't need a strap. On the other side, I did. So this is more comfortable for me on this side. Breathing in and out. If you can, allow the eyes to close here and just soften the shoulders, soften the face and eyes. We want everything soft. We're using the breath. Using the breath here. Nice inhalation through the nose and out the nose. Or you could give a sigh if you wanted. And then the next time you exhale, go ahead and release. Bring the arms down. And let's roll the shoulders a few times. So start out with some nice easy rolls up and back. Let's do one at a time too. One at a time. And then back the other way. The nice thing about doing it one at a time is it gives the opportunity for one shoulder to be moving, and especially one shoulder blade to be moving, and the other one's totally relaxed. So this side that's not moving, including the shoulder blade back here, we want it to be relaxed. So that when I do this, there's movement, but the movement is mostly on one side of the spine. So remember, we're trying to get the thoracic spine moving. So we're working one side, and then we're working the other side. And sometimes that independence is a nice, or working them independently is a nice way to practice. And then bring the hands right in the front and take a few breaths. Hands come together. Feel free to close the eyes here, sitting up tall, and closing the eyes, hands together, and then give ourselves a little hug, another opening in the back of the body. And inhale. So do this at your own pace. Inhale a nice opening in the heart, opening in the chest. Let the hands come apart gracefully. And then we close. Almost like there's a famous picture of a Native American on a horse, and their arms are out and open like this. It's a beautiful picture. So think about that. Think about overlooking. Maybe you're out at the top of a mountain, overlooking the vast expanse of the earth in front of you. Perhaps you're up in the White Mountains, overlooking the peaks in the distance. And then go ahead and bring the arms down, and let's do a little swimming. Let's start with a crawl stroke here. So reaching out, making sure that the arms coming across. So we reach out first, arm comes across, down the outside of the leg. Let yourself turn. So remember, we've been working on that turning. We were doing it with the elbows before, same thing, but now the arm is extended. Actually, when we do our crawl stroke, you'll notice the opposite elbow goes back like what we were doing before, and the arm comes forward like this. So we're going back and forth. See if you can notice, see if you can feel the movement in the belly. Movement in the belly. And then as you do this, think about extending the spine up and sitting up tall. So we have a tendency to lean forward when we do this, because that's normally when we swim, we'd be swimming like this. But see if you can make the same movement with the arms, get the turning in the body and sitting up taller. So we're lifting the heart here, lifting the heart as the arms move. So it won't feel quite so much like swimming, but the movement is similar. And let's do our back stroke. Same thing here, sitting up nice and tall. Actually, let's press the feet down, extend the spine up. So get length first, and then keep the length and try the back stroke like this. Remember, we're never forcing the shoulders back. We're never forcing the shoulder joint open. We want something that feels okay. So there's some ease here. And then see if you can feel the belly moving. Belly is moving down here, especially maybe a little bit more up underneath the ribs right here with the back stroke like this. Almost like there's a lifting up There's a lifting up from the navel up to the ribs. And then we come back down. And sitting up nice and tall, take a couple of breaths. And we're going to stand up next. We're going to come to our mountain pose, or you can stay seated and do mountain pose as well. So remember, seated mountain pose, extending the spine up, standing mountain pose, extending the spine up, but the legs and the hips are straight. So it's not really so different. Feeling the support, bottoms of the feet, pressing firmly into the floor, and then very gently bend the knees, making sure they go straight ahead. So if you need to, look down at your legs. You could also, traditionally in yoga, we would probably teach Tadasana with the feet together like this. I don't find that to be the most comfortable, so I like to spread my feet a little apart. So it's always about, it's not really about us fitting into what's traditional, actually. It's what we take the shape of the pose and we fit it to us. We fit it to what our needs are right now. And also our bodies, what our bodies need right now. So there's a bending and a straightening. Think about pressing the thighs back behind you. Think about, I'm going to turn around so you can see. Think about the gluteal muscles contracting and the hips compressing, the hips moving together. So there's that feeling of rising up from the feet as I straighten like this. And if you're seated, it's the same thing, but it's really an isometric. So we're pressing the feet, straightening the legs, and then think about the belly firm and going in slightly. Belly's firm, so feet are pressing, butt muscles are moving together, belly's moving in, ribs are lifting, and then we have those shoulders. Let's move the shoulders back, circular movement backwards, and let the arms hang down. And then adjust the chin so that the face is even, so the face is looking straight ahead, not up or down. So we try to keep evenness, and if you can, if you're able to, notice how it feels, evenness on the left and the right side. Sometimes we tend to favor one side and without knowing it. So see if you can adjust yourself so that you feel like you're standing up as straight as you can. You could also stand at a wall for this. That can be helpful too. And take a few more breaths. And we're going to do tree pose next. So balance pose, always important. Please use your chair if you need it. Chair is very handy for balance poses, whether or not it's in the front like this, and you rest your fingertips on there for balance, or you have it on the side. You could even use more than one chair if you wanted. You have a chair on each side. You could still have a chair behind you in case you need to sit down. So even if you need to get 4 chairs and put one in the front, make sure that you do it safely. And sitting up or standing up nice and tall, or sitting up nice and tall, and then shifting the weight onto one side. So if you're seated, go ahead and lean over towards one buttock and turn the leg out like this. And if you're standing, think about pressing the foot down, extending the leg up, and the weight shifts, but we try not to lean. If you lean, the hip goes out like this. So see if you can keep the hip in, press the foot down, and turn the leg out like this. I'll do that a few times. Stepping the ball of the foot and the toes down so the heel is up here. So most of my weight is on the standing leg. And I want to remember to keep elongating the spine here. There's a tendency for it to droop. So see if you can do this opening and even adding the arms like this. So as we open the groin, as the groin opens here, open the shoulder joint here. Same, so think of a connection. Open, open. And let's do the other side. So starting mountain pose, nice and tall, and then shifting the weight onto the straight leg and stepping out and back. Making sure we're standing up nice and tall. Don't forget to extend. And then you can add the arms, the hands, the ta-da. I like this movement in part, I think, because it feels a little dance-like. And I do like to dance, actually. I mean, most people like to dance. And we don't get to dance much these days. Well, maybe you do in your house, but we certainly don't dance together lately. And standing up nice and tall. And now let's switch to the other side. So same thing. Bend the knees slightly, engage the legs, press the feet, extend the legs up, lift the spine up. And then we have that straight leg, and then straighten the other leg out like this. So you could stay like this on the ball of the foot, or you could bring the sole of the foot on the inside of the calf. And you can always step down for balance. You can always step down for a moment, regain your balance, find a drishti point, something that won't move, fix your gaze there, and then add your arms if you want. Tree arms or prayer arms, or you could even bring the arms up over like this. So your choice, whatever you're feeling like today. And extending the spine up, lengthening, keeping the face and eyes soft, maybe even a little smile. Opening the heart, and then go ahead and come down whenever you're ready. So in any of these poses, remember, you can come down, you can come out of the pose whenever you want. And actually, the best way to do it is when you feel like you're starting to get tired or you're overextended, come out of the pose for a moment. You can always go back in. So think about balancing ease and effort. Don't let the effort get so far that your whole body is tense because you're trying to stay in the pose. If you really want to do the pose a lot, try it again later in the day. Same idea, without tension, with ease. See if you can find ease. Back to mountain pose. Back to tree pose. Other leg this time. Other leg. And then turn the leg out. Ball the foot. Stay there. Or if you want, you can add the sole of the foot coming onto the inner calf. And then you can add the arms. And find that drishti point. Raise your gaze, raise your thoughts. And however you make your tree pose today. Remember to keep breathing too. Sometimes we forget to breathe. And then whenever you're ready, you can come down, if you haven't come down. And then bring the hands together, take a couple of breaths. And before we sit down, let's do this exercise again. I think we did this the last time. And we're going to stand up right behind our chair like this. So I'm going to turn sideways, and I'm going to step back. And then reach forward under like this. So you could do this actually, you could do it with just one hand, or you could do it with no hands if your balance is very good. And when I step back, I'm engaging the butt muscle and extending the heel back. So if you're having trouble, if you're not sure you're engaging the gluteal muscles here, just rest your hand on your butt for a moment. And you'll feel when it engages. You'll feel the muscles underneath. And when your foot comes forward, you'll feel it soften. So we engage and soften, and engage and soften. And if you wanted to, you could add the arm like this. And up. You could also do this at a wall. I can be over here and you can kind of see me, I think. So you could also do this at a wall like this so that you have something to touch with the hand for balance. That might also help. You could even keep the hand on the wall as you slide the hand up and step back, and then slide the hand down as you step forward. It's like this. And you get a little something, helps with balance a little bit. Just make sure whatever you put your hand on is steady. Let's do the other side. So it's very important it's not going to move. So really stand up nice and tall, and we step back, and then forward, back. Remember, you can check the gluteal muscles by resting the hand, and you'll feel them. And if you want even more of a challenge, if this is all too easy for you, you could do both arms. You could even stay here for a moment and then come back and up. You could even bend the opposite leg slightly. So when you come forward, bend the leg slightly. And then when you come back, straighten the legs, both legs, and reach both arms up. So no matter how we do it, we're thinking about that lengthening. As I step back, there's a lengthening from the ball of the foot up the leg, up the torso, like I'm going to take off, like Superman. I guess Superman would be like this, but thinking about that lengthening, just like when we were seated, and now we're going to sit. So let's please sit back down. I'm going to come into our our seated mountain pose. And we're going to begin to warm down a little. So lifting the arms up and around. Think about lengthening up and softening the body with the breath. So we're still lengthening the spine, and we're using the action of the breath to relax. And we'll go the other way whenever you're ready. Bring the hands together and then drop the hands and go the other way. Keeping the shoulders relaxed here. And we're going to settle into our chair as comfortably as we can. If you need a little bit of support for the lumbar spine or for any part under the feet, remember, if you're short, you can put something under the feet. If you're tall, you can sit on something. If you're cold, please cover yourself with a blanket. And then find that nice, comfortable, extended but relaxed position in the chair. Back of the chair supporting me, hands are resting. So we'll work, we'll do our Shavasana again, and then we'll pause, or I should say we'll end the class. We'll end the class, and you can continue on with your Shavasana if you like. So it's always nice to do 5 or 10 minutes if you can, even 15 minutes if you're back. You know, if it's comfortable in the chair, or you could lay down on the floor, or just lay down on something firm. If your bed is okay as long as it's firm for the body, and you can get comfortable. So coming back to the breath, feeling the belly moving with the breath. Relaxing the face and the eyes, softening the jaw and the tongue and the throat. Relaxing the shoulders and the arms and the hands. So let our eyes be closed. And let the breath be soft. Thank you all for practicing today. Namaste.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us for another session of Gentle Chair Yoga with Keith Beasley. Once again, this is Batya Blumenthal, branch supervisor of the of the Putterham location of the Public Library of Brookline. We wanted to thank once again our friends of the Brookline Public Library for sponsoring this program and programs like it. And this program has also been streaming through our Zoom feed, through our Facebook, through the Brookline Library's Facebook page, and also YouTube. We also wanted to recognize our community partners, Brookline Interactive Group, where this program was also streaming through their Facebook feed, their YouTube feed, and local channel 3 on Xfinity and RCN. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.